It was the year of our Lord 1509 and the Italian peninsula was ablaze with war. The mighty Republic of Venice was pitted against the combined forces of France and the Holy Roman Empire. In the northern region of Lombardy, an epic battle was about to unfold, one that would forever be remembered in the annals of history. The French army, commanded by Louis XII himself, and the Venetian forces under the leadership of General Bartolomeo d'Alviano, had been clashing for months now. The Venetians had been able to hold their own against the French knights thanks to their superior artillery and steadfast determination, but the odds were slowly turning against them. It was on the fateful day of May 14th that the two armies came face to face at the village of Agnadello, near the town of Treviglio. The Venetian army numbered around 20,000 men, while the French and imperial forces were estimated to be around 35,000. Despite the odds, the Venetians were determined to fight to the last man, for their very survival rested on this battle. The Venetian army was divided into 3 divisions, with d'Alviano commanding the center, while the left and right flanks were led by the brothers Andrea and Antonio Gritti respectively. The French and imperial forces, on the other hand, were split into 4 separate sections, with Louis XII himself leading the center. The battle began with a fiery exchange of artillery, with both sides raining down a hail of cannon fire on each other. The Venetian guns proved to be more accurate, and they were able to decimate the French knights with their deadly iron balls. However, the French cavalry was not one to be beaten so easily. With the speed of lightning, they charged forward, slamming into the Venetian lines with ferocious force. The Venetian lanzknechts, who were mainly pikemen and halberdiers, stood stoutly in the front lines, brandishing their sharp weapons and bravely facing the charging horses. The fight was intense, and the sound of clanging steel and shouting men filled the air. The Venetian lines buckled under the weight of the onslaught, but they refused to break. The Gritti brothers rallied their troops and launched a counterattack, pushing back the French knights and forcing them to retreat. However, this was not to be the end of the battle. The imperial forces, who had been waiting patiently on the sidelines, now entered the fray. The Venetian lines were attacked on both flanks, and they found themselves surrounded on all sides. Despite being outnumbered and surrounded, the Venetians did not give up. They fought with all their might, defending their homes and families from the invaders. General d'Alviano rallied his men, shouting words of encouragement and calling for a final push against the enemy. It was at this moment that the tide of the battle began to turn. The Venetian artillery, which had been silent for a while, now roared to life. The French and imperial troops were caught off guard by the sudden barrage of cannon fire, and they were thrown into disarray. The Venetians seized the opportunity and charged forward, cutting down their foes with their sharp weapons. The French and imperial lines were broken, and they began to flee in panic. The battle was won, but at a great cost. The Venetian army had lost around 5,000 men, while the French and imperial forces had suffered an even greater loss. The Battle of Agnadello had been a momentous one, and it had marked the first major defeat of Louis XII in Italy. The Venetians had emerged victorious, but they had paid a heavy price. The battle had left the army weakened, and they had lost many brave soldiers. However, their spirits were high, for they had proved to the world that even when faced with overwhelming odds, they would fight to the very end for their beloved republic. The Battle of Agnadello would forever be remembered as a pivotal moment in Italian history. It had shown that the Venetians were a force to be reckoned with, and that they would not bow down to any conqueror. The battle had been a glorious one, filled with heroism, bravery, and sacrifice, and it would always be remembered as one of the greatest moments of the Italian wars.